Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome to your reading. If you felt mysteriously pulled to this specific message today, if something in your intuition gently tugged at your spirit and guided you here, trust that it is absolutely not a coincidence. There is someone out there in the world who is absolutely losing sleep over you right now. They are completely consumed by a profound, suffocating regret because they made the massive, life-altering mistake of listening to someone else instead of trusting their own heart and the undeniable connection you two shared. The energy in this space is incredibly heavy, deeply emotional, and intensely real. We are dealing with themes of third-party interference, devastating remorse, and an overwhelming desire for redemption. Let's dive straight into the energy and uncover exactly what is going on in their mind, body, and soul right now. Right away, I see the moon card resting on the table. The moon is the ultimate esoteric symbol of illusions, mental fog, hidden truths, and deep subconscious fears. For the longest time, this person was walking blindly in complete darkness. They allowed themselves to be fully surrounded by shadows and uncertainty. Instead of looking at the bright, pure, undeniable truth of the profound connection you two shared, they let unfounded fear take the steering wheel of their life. The moon tells me with absolute certainty that someone else deliberately clouded their judgment. There was a voice in their ear, perhaps a jealous friend, an overbearing family member, or even a highly toxic external influence, who strategically projected their own deeply rooted fears, insecurities, and hidden agendas onto your person. And because your person was already feeling vulnerable and overwhelmed by the sheer depth of their intense feelings for you, they soaked up that toxic negativity like a sponge. They simply couldn't see the reality of your love, loyalty, and pure intentions. They only saw the distorted, terrifying shadows on the wall that this third party intentionally created to scare them away. The moon is such a profound card of psychological manipulation, gaslighting, and severe self-deception. This person successfully convinced themselves that walking away from you, or putting up massive, defensive walls, was the logical and safe thing to do, simply because they were heavily influenced and told it was right by someone they foolishly trusted. But the phase of the moon is rapidly shifting right now in real time. The illuminating moonlight is finally exposing the ugly, undeniable truth. They are slowly beginning to realize that the terrors they were harboring weren't even their own. The shocking realization that they freely allowed a malicious or severely misguided third party to completely dictate their love life is crashing down on them, bringing a massive, suffocating wave of intense confusion, deep embarrassment, and immense remorse. They are sitting in the devastating aftermath of their incredibly poor choices, staring at the absolute ruins of a connection that should have been their greatest blessing in this lifetime. The moon clearly reveals that the secret, selfish agendas of those they blindly trusted are finally becoming crystal clear to them, leaving them feeling foolish and betrayed by their own inner circle. Moving on to the next energy, the next card on the table is the Nine of Swords. And oh my goodness, the energetic frequency here shifts dramatically from mere confusion to outright agonizing, physical torment. The Nine of Swords is notoriously known in the ancient tarot as the absolute nightmare card, the card of severe anxiety, mental anguish, and literal, incurable insomnia. When I say they are losing sleep over you, this specific card confirms it in the most literal, tangible, physical sense possible. I am directly seeing this person waking up in a freezing cold sweat at exactly 3 in the morning, their heart racing frantically in their chest, their mind spinning uncontrollably with dark, repetitive, punishing thoughts. The dead, heavy silence of the middle of the night is their absolute biggest enemy right now, because it is the only time they cannot creatively distract themselves or drown out the deafening sound of their own guilty conscience. In the suffocating stillness of their dark bedroom, your face is the only single thing they see. The precious, irreplaceable memories of what you passionately shared, the effortless laughter, the deep, soul-bearing midnight conversations, and the unparalleled warmth of your safe presence are relentlessly haunting them like ghosts. They are obsessively replaying every single minor interaction, every harsh word spoken in anger, and every foolish misstep they aggressively took that ultimately led to your painful absence. The Nine of Swords carries the incredibly heavy, leaden burden of extreme, inescapable guilt. This isn't just a fleeting, casual feeling of wishing things had perhaps played out a little differently. This is a soul-crushing, bone-deep remorse that violently eats away at their sanity from the inside out. They know beyond a shadow of a doubt that they carelessly sabotaged something extraordinarily beautiful and rare. They know they deeply broke your innocent heart, and in doing so, they completely shattered their own into a million unfixable pieces. The physical toll of this massive emotional anguish is immense and clearly visible to everyone around them. They look visibly exhausted, they feel energetically drained to the core, and they cannot find a single moment of fleeting peace, no matter what elaborate coping mechanisms they try to use. Every single time they finally close their heavy eyes, their immense regret flashes like a cinematic highlight reel of their absolute greatest life mistakes. They are literally suffocating under the crushing weight of their own cowardice and poor judgment. The 9 heavy swords hanging ominously on the wall in this card represent the sharp, cutting, relentless, unforgiving thoughts of intense self-blame. They are incredibly furious at themselves for being so incredibly weak, for being so easily swayed by outside influences instead of standing 10 toes down and proudly defending you when it mattered the most. As we look deeper into the complicated spread, the next card presenting itself is the Lovers in reverse. This placement is incredibly significant, deeply profound, and utterly heartbreaking. When completely upright, the Lovers is the ultimate, universally recognized card of beautiful soulmates, divine union, perfect emotional harmony, and sacred, unbreakable partnerships. It represents a rare, cosmic bond that genuinely feels as though it was beautifully written in the stars long before you both physically incarnated on this earth. But here, appearing in the reverse position, it signifies a tragic, painful disconnection, a prematurely broken sacred vow, and a profound chaotic disharmony caused directly by terrible, ego-driven, foolish choices. This reversed card explicitly shows me that what you two intimately had was absolutely not ordinary, average, or easily replaceable. It was a once-in-a-lifetime kind of profound, overwhelming love, the specific kind that deeply challenges you to spiritually grow, actively triggers your deepest hidden wounds for necessary healing, and absolutely demands complete, naked, fearless authenticity. But your person was absolutely terrified of that immense, oceanic depth. The Lovers reversed visually indicates that when boldly faced with the crucial, life-defying choice between diving courageously into the transformative healing depths of a true soul connection or instantly retreating into the superficial, boring safety of their known comfort zone, they predictably and disappointingly chose to run away. They actively and consciously chose paralyzing fear over unconditional, expansive love. This devastating reversal also heavily points toward the stark, undeniable misalignment in their core personal values and the toxic, pervasive interference of loud outside voices. The Lovers is fundamentally a card of making a massive, significant life choice, and they undeniably made the absolute wrong one. They spinelessly allowed the sacred, beautiful, protected bond between you two to be deeply desecrated, mocked, and cheapened by the unsolicited opinions, cruel gossip, and harsh judgments of outsiders who knew absolutely nothing about the reality of your connection. They intentionally disconnect from your pure, loving energy just to appease someone else, to keep the peace, or to maintain a certain fabricated, fake image of themselves for society. Now, constantly living in the painful, heavy energy of the Lovers reversed, they are feeling the agonizing, physical severing of that powerful soul tie every single day. It physically and emotionally feels to them as though a vital, irreplaceable piece of their own eternal soul has been violently and permanently ripped away from their chest. They profoundly realize now that no matter who else they desperately talk to, no matter what superficial, empty relationships they try to frantically build to replace you, they can never ever replicate the magnetic, undeniable, electric, spiritual chemistry they effortlessly and naturally had with you. And directly beside that reverse soulmate energy, I vividly see the 3-aught sword. This specific card is always visually striking and fundamentally emotionally gut-wrenching, depicting a beautiful glowing red human heart violently and mercilessly pierced by 3 incredibly sharp, heavy, unforgiving steel blades. The thick energy radiating from this card is raw, bleeding heartbreak, profound, unshakable sorrow, and deep, prolonged grieving. But the 3 of Swords isn't just about general sadness, temporary disappointment, or a typical, amicable breakup. It very specifically and aggressively points to calculated third-party interference, painful triangulation, and deep, scarring betrayal. Those 3 sharp swords viciously stabbing the heart directly represent you, your person, and the toxic outside influence that utterly destroyed the beautiful sanctuary what you painstakingly built together. As I clearly mentioned earlier, this destructive third party could have been a highly judgmental, controlling family member who strongly disapproved of the union for selfish reasons, an incredibly jealous, secretly competitive, miserable friend, or even another fleeting, superficial romantic interest that briefly and foolishly distracted them from the real prize. Whoever or whatever that destructive, chaotic third element was, it successfully acted as a fatal, perfectly calculated blow to the very core of your sacred, loving connection. Your person is only just now realizing the absolute, undeniable devastation caused by allowing this gross interference into your private dynamic. They are directly and intensely feeling the exact same sharp, breathless, agonizing pain that they so carelessly and recklessly inflicted upon you in the past. The Three of Swords powerfully shows that the treacherous, cowardly betrayal they committed by cowardly listening to someone else's toxic venom has now horribly mutated into their own personal, inescapable, suffocating heartbreak. They see with absolute, devastating clarity now that the person they foolishly and blindly listened to did not have their best interests at heart in the slightest degree. That third party deliberately, maliciously manipulated the entire fragile situation, intentionally planted insidious, poisonous seeds of doubt in their vulnerable mind, and effectively assassinated the loving relationship purely for their own selfish, twisted gain or ego boost. Your person is deeply, profoundly mourning this terrible realization. The bitter, hot tears they are silently shedding in absolute private are very real, very heavy, and the grieving of the permanent, tragic loss of your bright presence is profound and entirely all-consuming. The Three of Swords also speaks incredibly strongly to the incredibly painful but entirely necessary process of mandatory spiritual growth and karmic balancing. In order for a deeply infected, rotting emotional wound to properly heal, it must first be painfully, forcefully cleaned out. And your person is currently deeply entrenched in the excruciating, messy, difficult process of cleaning out the highly toxic, manipulative influences from their daily life. They are finally belatedly finding the desperately needed courage to aggressively and permanently cut ties with the specific people who purposefully and maliciously led them so far astray from true love. But the overall energetic frequency of the entire reading shifts drastically, miraculously, and beautifully with the very next card, which is the incredibly mighty, imposing Judgment card. This is a massive, high-transformative, earth-shattering energy that absolutely cannot be ignored or bypassed. Judgment is the powerful, ultimate card of a genuine spiritual awakening, a radical, necessary rebirth, intense karmic clearing, and a final, unavoidable divine reckoning from the universe itself. It visually represents the dramatic, biblical moment when the heavenly trumpet powerfully sounds from the glowing skies above, forcefully waking the spiritually dead and aggressively calling them to rise up and elevate to a much higher, purer level of spiritual consciousness and understanding. Your person is currently actively experiencing a profound, entirely life-altering, mind-bending epiphany. The agonizing, relentless mental pain of the Nine of Swords and the bleeding, raw, devastating heartbreak of the Three of Swords have effectively and perfectly acted as a necessary, divine catalyst for a massive, unstoppable, permanent spiritual awakening within their core. They are slowly but surely painfully rising from the burned, destroyed ashes of their own sheer foolishness and oversized, fragile ego. Judgment loudly tells me that they are absolutely no longer lying to themselves, denying reality, or cowardly hiding behind false, fabricated narratives designed to make them look like the innocent victim. The thick, deceptive, suffocating fog of the moon has entirely and permanently lifted from their spiritual vision. They are bravely standing completely naked, exposed, and vulnerable in the absolute, undeniable truth of their past cowardly actions, finally taking full, unmitigated, absolute accountability for every single foolish mistake, every cowardly lie told, and every pathetic, embarrassing moment of weakness where they failed to protect you. This isn't just a simple, fleeting, temporary change of mind or a quick mood swing. This is an absolute, fundamental, permanent overhaul of their entire soul's architecture. They are shockingly realizing their true divine path, and they see with absolute crystal clarity that you were always undeniably meant to be a permanent, cherished, central part of it. Judgment is primarily about urgently answering a higher spiritual calling, and right now, their freshly awakened, terrified soul is crying out loudly and desperately to you across whatever physical or emotional distance separates you. They desperately, intensely want redemption and forgiveness. They are absolutely desperate, begging the universe for a second chance to miraculously prove to you that they have finally learned their agonizing, painful karmic lesson the hard way. They are actively, intensely doing the grueling, exhausting inner psychological work required to actually, genuinely become the strong, loyal, unwavering partner you always deserved from day one, but sadly never received. They are permanently, aggressively silencing the loud, toxic voices of those interfering third parties. And finally, thankfully tuning into their own authentic, reliable inner wisdom. The Judgment card strongly and definitively indicates that they deeply, passionately desire to resurrect this dead connection, breathing entirely new, vibrant life into it. And the final, highly anticipated card, confirming this incredibly intense, rapidly building momentum, is the powerful Chariot. I instantly see the Chariot charging boldly, fiercely forward, with absolutely unstoppable, relentless, aggressive determination. This is the ultimate, universally celebrated card of guaranteed absolute victory, immense, unwavering willpower, and successfully, aggressively overcoming massive, seemingly entirely impossible external obstacles. The Chariot clearly, loudly tells me that this specific person is absolutely not just going to pathetically sit in their dark, depressing room and lazily wallow in their intense regret forever while life completely passes them by. No, they are actively, strategically mobilizing their energy. They are frantically, desperately gathering every single remaining ounce of courage, internal strength, and raw bravery they possess in their soul to completely, permanently break the agonizing, suffocating silence and boldly reach out to you directly. The Chariot is deeply driven by a fierce, intensely laser-focused, almost frighteningly obsessive forward energy. After being miserably, tragically stuck in the entirely stagnant, highly fearful, and embarrassingly cowardly energy of the past, they are finally stepping completely up to the plate and taking firm, unyielding control of the heavy reins of their own life and destiny. They are absolutely, unequivocally determined to permanently, successfully bridge the massive, terrifying gap between you two, regardless of whether that distance is a massive physical separation across thousands of miles, a deep emotional chasm built by years of intense pain, or a combination of both. They are completely, physically ready to violently, fearlessly crash through any remaining energetic, mental, or physical barriers that have successfully, tragically kept you two completely apart for so long. They are currently obsessively planning their exact, precise approach, carefully, meticulously figuring out exactly what specific, profound words they desperately need to say to effectively, convincingly demonstrate their newly acquired spiritual growth and their brand new, absolute, unbreakable commitment to you and only you. The Chariot undeniably, powerfully shows that they will absolutely not let anything, anyone, or any external circumstance stand in their way or block their path this time around. If those exact same highly toxic, manipulative third parties dare to foolishly try to aggressively interfere again, or voice their unsolicited, ignorant opinions regarding you, your person will completely, ruthlessly, and unapologetically run them completely over without a single second thought or ounce of hesitation. They are incredibly, intensely hyper-focused exclusively on you as their final, ultimate, and only desirable destination in this entire lifetime. However, as we look deeply and seriously at this entire, highly emotional, volatile spread, I must forcefully, passionately remind you of your own incredible, immense power, total autonomy, and absolutely priceless self-worth. Just because they are currently experiencing a massive, dramatic, spiritual awakening, just because they are completely consumed by suffocating regret and rapidly rushing aggressively toward you with the intense, entirely unstoppable energy of the Chariot, absolutely, positively does not mean you are in any way, shape, or form obligated to graciously open the heavy door for them when they arrive. You are absolutely not a free, charitable rehabilitation center for heavily broken, highly emotionally unavailable people who severely lack the basic intelligence and depth to know your immense worth the first time around. You are absolutely not required to graciously, generously grant them unearned redemption at the heavy, entirely unfair expense of your own hard-earned, highly protected mental and emotional peace. When this person inevitably, predictably comes rushing desperately back to you, sincerely, tearfully begging for absolute forgiveness and desperately, frantically explaining in detail how they were maliciously manipulated by toxic others, you need to stand incredibly tall, completely unbothered, and forcefully hold your strict boundaries firmly like an impenetrable, highly guarded fortress. You absolutely must critically watch their consistent, long-term actions over an extended period of time, not just blindly, foolishly trust their incredibly pretty, rehearsed, desperate words. Have they truly, permanently, and aggressively cut off the highly toxic influences that successfully ruined things before? Have they genuinely, fundamentally, and deeply changed on a permanent soul level? Or are they simply just feeling incredibly lonely, completely rejected, and extremely guilty right now, in this exact passing moment? You and only you, hold absolutely all the immense power and all the decisive cards in this highly shifted dynamic now. You get to completely unilaterally decide if their tearful, profound apology is actually enough to even begin to mend the massive, catastrophic damage they carelessly caused. If you carefully, deeply consider the situation and graciously choose to generously give them another chance, do it only, strictly because it completely, fully aligns with your absolute highest, greatest spiritual good, and never, ever out of a sense of misplaced, pathetic pity or lingering, romanticized nostalgia for a past that wasn't even entirely real. If you boldly, bravely choose to confidently walk away forever and permanently, happily leave them in the absolute dust of the past, that is your absolute, undeniable divine right. You have grown so incredibly much through this agonizingly painful, completely unfair experience. You have truly fully learned your own immense, unshakable worth. Whatever you ultimately decide to firmly do, always profoundly remember that you are highly protected, fiercely loved, and perfectly, divinely guided by the benevolent universe at all times. Strongly trust your powerful, highly accurate intuition. Fiercely protect your beautiful, radiant, highly coveted energy at absolutely all costs. You are inherently, completely deserving of a pure love that is absolutely certain, a profound love that proudly, loudly chooses you first, every single time, without a single ounce of hesitation, and completely without the unnecessary need for a painful, devastating awakening, just to magically realize your spectacular, undeniable worth.